Welcome home to St. Anne's. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you. So, please be seated. He's very used to church at home where he got to lay under the altar the whole time. So, this is right up his alley. Today is the Feast of St. Francis of Assisi, who, for a kid who grew up in Roman Catholic schooling from my elementary school, he was my favorite saint, my favorite saint, because most of you know I adore animals. Adore them, probably to a disturbing level. And so I still remember to this day, there was a day where all the kids had to choose their favorite saint, and we all had to dress up as our favorite saint and then go and do this, I don't know, some sort of Catholic ritual. I mean, they've got a ritual for everything. So all the kids, we would go and do this, and all the little girls dress up as Mary and have these beautiful costumes. You know, there are all sorts of Marys, so you can choose all sorts of beautiful Marys to be. My mother had to sew a monk costume so that I could be St. Francis of Assisi with all my stuffed animals, you know. God bless that woman. She's been through a lot. So anyway, so St. Francis of Assisi, let's do a brief story about him. So St. Francis of Assisi was a monk in the Middle Ages. Remember, your Middle Ages run a long time. They run from 500 to 1500, so we've got a wide spread. Now is the moment that I get to use my medieval studies degree. Yeah, you thought it was useless. It is. But it was fun. Okay, so he's right there in the middle, right? And St. Francis is the son of a textile merchant. So uber wealthy. How much do you guys know about Italy in the Middle Ages? Pretty rich, right? All the wealth is in Italy, in the merchants. So Francis comes from obscene wealth. Lots and lots of money. And his father has worked really hard to make them rich, because that's how merchants make a lot of money. So here comes his son one day, and he says, I want to be a monk. I know, you're fine. Stop whining. He's like, stop preaching. I'll stop whining. So he decides to give it all away. And his father is livid about this. But he does. So we have a person who comes from extreme wealth, who really understands it's like an American. We're used to having a lot of stuff, right? We like stuff, right? So this is medieval Italy at the time. There's lots of stuff. And he realizes that that's all fake. He realizes that that's not real. That what is real is God's creation. St. Francis is one of our first environmentalists, which is really, really important for those of us now to really start to reclaim St. Francis, because we as a church have been living a life that has been calling us to environmentalism for a really long time. We invented that. We invented the love of creation, the idea that we are called to be stewards of God's creation. We started that. So this whole thing that's something different and Christians are bad about God's creation and blah, blah, blah. No, we started it. St. Francis says, hey, look, no. All of God's creation is God. To love God means to love God's creation. It's that simple. It is that simple. For me to love God, for me to truly love God, means that I love and care for God's creation, all of it. Because if God created it, it's good and worth loving. And I know there are things like roaches And that's one of the first questions I'm going to have when I get to God. I mean, assuming when I die, I get to go to heaven. I really hope I do. I'm probably going to be like, what up with the roaches? Like you said, I should love all of your creation, then you gave me roaches. I'm sure that's like the ultimate test in my faith, right? Roaches. And I work in schools, which are like full of roaches. Gross. Okay, so it is really that simple, though. I can preach to you forever long about how important it is for us to care for the earth. I can preach to you however long I want to about the importance of loving and caring for our creatures and animals and all that stuff. But at our very core, we know that. When we strip all of our arrogance and all of our selfishness and our greed and all of our love for stuff away, we know that. We know that. Because here's the deal. Our animals do it better than we do. Mark Twain has a quote, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's basically this. We know that we get into heaven by grace. And because if it was by merit, we wouldn't get in, but our dogs would. And I love Mark Twain. But anyway, he has a lot of stuff where he kind of examines the reality that, like, animals are better Christians than we are. The world is better at loving God and caring for God than you and I are. And St. Francis is one of our first saints who says, hey, look, all that stuff is fake. All that stuff is false. The real stuff is God's creation. The animals, the plants, the trees, all of God's creation, the waters, all of that stuff, that is God with us. And that has the same level of importance as we do. And we are called to care for it. Because when we care for it and we are one with it, we are one with God. And we are loving and caring of God's creation. So like I said, I can preach to you however long I want about this. And I can talk to you about metal straws. And I can talk to you about recycling. And I can talk to you about all those things, but we know them. We know that the earth is warming. We know that our impact is impacting the earth around us. We know that. We can debate on how we want to react to it and how we want to respond to it, but we know that we've messed up. We know that we have failed. And I have a dog at home who exists in my home because humans failed. Actually, all 3 of my dogs are rescues who came to me because humans failed them. The reason May can't be here is because she's still getting used to all the stuff that humans have done to her, and she's terrified of men. Me too, girl, me too. We know that we've messed up. The question is, can we do what Francis did? Can we strip it all away and say, you know what? That doesn't matter. I'm going to start over. I'm going to leave all that stuff behind and I'm going to start over. I'm going to commit to a life of serving God and serving God's creation. I really hope that we can. He finally gave up. He's like, she's still preaching. I'm going to go back to sleep. We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.